couple of days ago, Konami announced a brand new way to play the TCG. Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis is a brand new format with a very, very big headline: no banned cards. Instead of having cards banned, you're allowed to play any card that's ever been printed in Yu-Gi-Oh!, with the exception of Links and Pendulums, except for the fact that they have a very long list of cards with a point cost associated to them. And effectively, you're allowed to build a deck with a total point cost of 100 points or less.
Wait, he's playing Goaty too?
You're allowed
Chad, is Goaty actually like supposed to be good in this format?
to build a deck with a total point cost
Oh, okay. I'm like, where's his 1 point?
of 100 points or less, meaning that if you choose to build a deck with a card that costs 100 points, none of the other cards that are featured on the points list are allowed to be played in your deck alongside it. Overall idea of this format is that it brings the power level of Yu-Gi-Oh! Down, and it brings the complexity level of Yu-Gi-Oh! Also down by removing Pendulums and Link monsters and forcing people to play with cards that are usually going to be less powerful than the typical suite of 3 of hand traps and all sorts of broken cards that you can just be playing in your modern standard format Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck. Now, I know that by the title of this video, you might think that I hate this concept. I hate the idea. I fucking hate Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis. But that's not the case. I actually really, really like the concept of having the deck build with a point system in mind, because it lends itself to forcing the player to make very important concessions in terms of deck building, and ultimately forcing people to play with very unique deck lists and interesting deck lists. And overall, I think it's just a fantastic deck building challenge. I'm a big fan of deck building challenges. I think that anytime you're building with a restriction, it forces you to create something cool and unique and different, and I love that about the concept of Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis. Now, actually, what I dislike about Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis is the implementation of one very specific thing. So we're gonna get into it. Before that, I just gotta give you a little bit of context. Basically, they announced Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis a couple of days ago.
Before we watch this, Chad, or before we go on, what is Coder's major? It can't be True King of all calamities. This is the eldest deck I made a couple of days ago. You can add cards that have points. No, well, we don't know what it is yet. Wow, we're only at 57 points? Let me see. I feel like I want another Golden Lord in here. Yeah. I know that this was the quote-unquote standard chat too, but like I've always thought the correct ratio was 3. But I think this card gets from banished, right? No, it doesn't. Yeah, I've always thought the correct ratio, if you don't play other, is 3. Because if you play two golden lords and one gets banished, winning the game closing the game out is so much harder. It's actually very, like, just get bestialed one time or DD crowed, you will find like you don't have damage. It's like because you don't really run monsters. When you have 3 golden lords, it's never, your opponent can never banish all of them. You can also play the field spell? Oh, yeah, so why don't you have a field spell in here? Oh, well, hold on. I think it's because the field spell does BP. I think the field spell kind of does lead to, like, link. I forget exactly, but the field spell kind of leads to, like, you doing link plays. I kind of question how good evac. It's just, this card hasn't been good in a millennia. I wish I could just play fucking 12 copies of Torrential. Seriously. If I could just play 12 copies of Torrential, like, this card's good, this card's good, this card's good, this card's good. I'm iffy on this and this. On Compulse, and especially Needle Sealing. It's like, if people not spamming the board, this card is ass. The good thing in Eldritch is any trap card can kind of become a reborn, so that's like kind of good for Eldritch. I kind of like that.
And then just yesterday,
there's a Rhoda for Torrential. You could play Daruma. There's 12 Torrential. What is 5 points? I thought about what's it called? DD Crow is pop. Yeah. So if you're playing, especially if you're playing in a format with three DD Crow, and honestly in Eldritch, Called by the Grave is it's probably worth playing Called by the Grave. Yeah, because Called by the Grave is, for all intents and purposes, just basically a trap card in this deck. All it does, Called by the Grave, is you're just using it for Ash, just to make sure this resolves, and I guess if your opponent's randomly playing DD Crow, that your stuff doesn't get DD Crowed. Like, yeah, Called by the Grave is probably not cost efficient in this format, chat, but in a deck like Eldritch where you're not using any points, it might actually be worth it. Yeah, it might actually be worth it. Called by the Grave is a lot of points. It's a lot of points. Anyway, so
they already updated some of the point costs on a lot of the cards. Now, I know that a lot of people are happy about this, and they're like, oh my god, they're listening to...
Hold on. If there's no links, then I just thought of something. Is this card actually okay? Hold on, chat. Hold on, because I was like, is this card actually just broken? Oh goodness. It's only wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Is this card, yeah, how is this not just like an FTK? How is this card not just like an FTK for modern decks? I give you these tokens and you can't get them off the board unless you're playing fucking Dark Hole. It's viable. Yummy needs links. Chain Strike. No. BP, I'm just talking about this is just not even Chain Strike. I'm talking about this is just, I just Ojama Trio you and just take away 3 of your monster zones for eternity. Unless you randomly have tribute monsters in your deck, right? Like, do people play those? Dandelion is at 3. I'm just talking about giving my opponent a bunch of tokens. This card seems very slept on, chat. Also, so I guess they don't want people playing Burn. Is that it? Because, yeah, why is Chain Strike... What's it called? Why is Chain Strike
feedback, and they're responding very quickly, and they're actually communicating with us through blog posts, which is like unheard for Konami, and I think that's really good. However, I think that they jumped the gun just a little too quick. I really don't think that 2 days worth of theory crafting really is enough to know whether or not certain cards were too broken.
This is also true, by the way, for all of you guys saying like Coder, Beige, whatever. He's right. When BP was like they already updated the ban list, that was my first thought was, why would you update your ban list after 2 days? Unless there is a prominent FTK, like, bro, you do not need to update your ban. 2 days? You don't need an emergency ban list.
Certain cards cost too little, certain cards cost too much. I think with YCS Anaheim around the corner, it's literally 2 weekends away.
Like, let things develop.
Enough time to give people to try to discover what all decks would be interesting to play in the format, and then taking it to the YCS Anaheim side event.
There was a flaw. They made it before
on Saturday
Justice
and on Sunday to win a freaking dark.
Hot take. Make K9 Izuna 100 points. Because fuck K9, it ruined the year.
And Dragon, which is crazy. And then I think with the results of that, you can basically take a little bit more of an educated guess based on, you know, statistics and actually what was played, as opposed to just take a wild guess from what people have been brewing in Discords for the last 2 days. So me personally, I did buy some cards because I had this really cool idea for a deck, and unfortunately, the deck that I wanted to build is no longer viable due to these new changes. Now, I'm going to clarify, I don't think this is one of those, I invested into these cards and I should have been allowed to get a return on my investment. That's not...
See, so that what Coder's talking about, chat, that's what I was just talking about with BP. I don't think it's fair to have ban lists or updates that often to where it's like, okay, bro, I ordered 20 cards, and by the time all my cards arrived here, which was like 8 days, you already released a new list and now I can't play the deck. Like, that shouldn't be a thing. That doesn't happen in regular Yu-Gi-Oh! Where it's like, all right, Doom and Dimensions came out Friday. It's like, all right, cool. I bought a whole bunch of Doom and Dimensions. Like, I know I'd probably get to play it for like 3 months. You know what I mean?
Not how I feel about it at all. Anyone who knows me knows that whenever I buy a card, I don't view it as an asset or as a stock or anything like that. However, I think that when you
Stocks.
buy a card because you were presented with a format, you built a deck for it, bought the cards in order to be able to play it with your friends or at your locals, because a lot of locals are firing this event, I really think that you should be allowed to get value out of that card and get play time out of that card is what I mean in terms of value. So the fact that they initially released this format and then 2 days later, after probably a lot of people purchased cards because they were excited to give this format a try, already killed off a lot of decks that a bunch of people were very excited to play, probably bought some cards to play, and now won't be able to use those cards for. So that's my first complaint. However, we are going to finally get into the larger complaint, and this is the meat and potatoes of the video. This is the main reason why I wanted to create this video.
Chat?
And it's because I have one really big complaint about this format that I've been looking online and I haven't seen anyone really talking about it. So I want to basically present this argument to you guys just as food for thought. Now again, I like the concept of Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis. This is not me being here to complain, being like, they killed the one deck that I theorized and wanted to play. It truly is just me presenting you with an alternative thought that you might not have had, just so that more people can maybe think about it and see maybe Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis should be something just ever so slightly different. And the change that I'm suggesting is not a really crazy major one. So, the main complaint that I have about Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis is the headline itself. No banned cards. Now, while I think the concept of no banned cards is A, interesting, and B, also is a headline that, let's face it, really attracts returning players, people that haven't played the game in over a decade, or even just new players. This idea of, wait, I could play with everything? That's so cool. I think that that's a concept that, in theory, lends itself well to inviting a lot of people to start playing this format.
It is true.
However, on the opposite side, 100-point cost cards are effectively just banned in this format. You look at cards like Topic Zexal or Rongaminyad, and these cards, despite the fact that Rongo doesn't actually cost 100, but a majority of these problematic cards are effectively just banned in this format. While yes, you are allowed to play it in your deck at the cost of effectively not being able to.
So the way that I'm looking at it, Chad, is how I looked at Skill Drain. They're not banned, they're limited. You can play Skill Drain, but that's it. It is your deck master essentially. It's just available for weaker decks. Yeah, because I don't look at this format, Chad, of like you have to run 3 Ash, you have to run all these other little like staples. I look at it as like this, where you just play Eldritch, and like if I don't want to play Strike, this becomes 3 Crackdowns, and I play 1 Skill Drain, and that Skill Drain is for all intents and purposes my deck master. Didn't know Nethys had points. That's a little sus. A little sus that Nethys has points, chat. You know what I mean? So that's the way that I look at it. Now that's just one card in a vacuum, but I look at 100-point cards not necessarily as like they're banned. I look at them as they're limited. Granted, some 100-point cards also require other 100-point cards. You know, play 3 Future Fusion. What with this? Yeah, I'm future fusing 2 Golden Lords to the graveyard to summon this piece of shit? No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work, Atenza. I mean, technically, yeah, you could play Future Fusion and Eldritch. You get to dump 2 Golden Lords, I guess, to the graveyard, and then you could reborn it using the Future Fusion. So that's kind of cute, but yeah, that's not it. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, I get you can Future Fusion for either one of them because they both require Golden Lord and a zombie, and yeah, so you could drop double Golden Lord, and I guess you get a free Reborn. So
play anything
it's cute,
else.
I guess.
The flip side of that is that they associated a high point cost or a point cost that would get you above the 100-point threshold in order to make it so that these cards are effectively just not playable anyway. So while this format does, in fact, not have a ban list, with the exception of Links and Pendulums, but for the remainder of this video, we're just going to go with the assumption of there is no ban list, okay? While this format has no ban list, the reality of it is that there are a lot of cards that are pseudo-banned because they're not able to be played in any meaningful way. You can put them in your deck, but you're not able to use them in any way, shape, or form. So why do I have a problem
all right, without really diving deep into this format, is this true? Because this what he's saying doesn't sound accurate, chat. Like, he's basically saying that you can't play, you just can't summon Rongo. And it's like, that doesn't sound right. Like, I'm sure there's some shitty Satellarknight deck that if you really want to summon Rongo, you can summon Rongo. Is it going to be the best deck? No. But if you really want to summon Rongo and Tellarknights, like, fucking summon Rongo. You know what I mean? Shockmaster Turbo exists. That's just wrong. Yeah, that's why I feel like what he's saying is just not true. Like, if you want to summon True King of All Calamities, you can't summon it in Virtual World, but you can summon it in Generator.
With these 100-point costs even being allowed in the game at all. The reason why I have an issue with it is because every single one of these 100-point cost cards take a bunch of other cards with them and bloat up this point cost list. The major reason that I'm seeing people talking about why Links and Pendulums were banned is because people are saying that if Links and Pendulums were allowed, there would be way too many cards that would have to be put on this point list, and reducing how many cards are on this point list actually makes it a lot more digestible for newer and returning players to actually pick up this format. However, when you look at the 100 cost cards, those are also a big culprit towards this exact same factor. You look at, once again, Utopic Zexal, every single rank up card ever created in the game has at least 1 point cost associated to it, specifically so that you can't play it with number as 0 Utopic Zexal. And that just seems very strange to me. Now, I know this is going to sound extremely...
Am I tripping, or can you inherently summon Zexal? What's his summoning condition? I know you discard a rank up.
Cards, those are also a big culprit towards this exact same factor. You look at, once again, Utopic Zexal...
Three XC monsters of the same rank. I mean, just do that, bozo.
Every single rank up card ever created in the game has at least...
I gotta be honest. Do the XC straight? Because, like, yeah, Razio might be able to do that. I'm thinking, I'm like, no deck can do... Razio could probably do that, chat. To be completely honest, because I'm like, there's no deck... Yeah. The Numeron cards have points? But hold on, do you need Numeron cards plus? I thought it was... I'm gonna just download this. The Numeron cards do it the best? Yeah, but that's not Coda's argument. You can also exceed summon this card by discarding a normal rank up, blah, 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 blah. Then using a Utopia monster. Wait, couldn't you also just do this in the Utopia deck? I'm just saying, he's just making the argument that, like, you can't summon this card. Oh, it has to be number monsters. Ooh, rip. There goes the Razio idea. Okay, so then maybe you could probably just do it with Utopia then? I didn't realize it had to be number monsters.
At least 1 point cost associated to it, specifically so that you can't play it with number as 0 Utopic Zexal. And that just seems very strange to me. Now, I know this is going to sound extremely weird, but the big reason why I wanted to make this video, and I know you guys are going to say, Coda, you have a horse in the race. They hit your deck. They hit the thing that you wanted to do. Let me break this down. I got really upset because in the points update that they made, they took Planet Pathfinder, a card that has seen effectively no competitive play damn near ever in the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, with the exception of being played in Mystic Mine, and they made it cost 3 points. Now, why did they do this? They did this because Mystic Mine is legal in this format. Mystic Mine being obviously a card that, if it hits the board and sticks, you outright win the game by stalling the game entirely to a halt and burning your opponent for game. So, because Mystic Mine is legal, every single field spell searcher has a point cost associated to it. Terraforming, Planet Pathfinder, Metaverse, heck...
These cards were going to have points associated with them even if there was no Mystic Mine, chat. The reason why is because, like, we've already seen these cards get hit on the ban list. You can argue that Metaverse was because of Mystic Mine, but, like, Terraforming's been at 1 for how long? It's been at 1 for, like, 5 years. A lot of people want Terraforming banned, especially when we got to the Visas storyline and all the Visas cards, or all the all the Visas archetypes have like field spells.
Mize of the Land. These cards
Chicken Game was 0, but they updated it.
that effectively don't see any play unless they're played in some very specific strategies that can utilize them in interesting ways, with the exception of Mystic Mine, which uses it for evil, essentially.
I don't know about 50.
I remember the days of the TCG banning every single tuner instead of just banning Christian Halka-Fibrax. And I remember when they would hit every single FTK enabler instead of just banning OG Firewall Dragon. This is not something that we want to be repeating, yet this is what we're seeing here. Now, Coder, why is Planet Pathfinder something that's even on your radar? Why do you even care? I was basically playing a K9 Archmage deck. Now, I know that they hit Jokal, and I think that's a very reasonable hit to make. And I think the deck would still be extremely playable despite that point cost. However, one thing that is kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back is the point cost associated to Planet Pathfinder. In my opinion, being able to...
All right, I gotta be honest, chat. What point is Coder trying to make here? Did the changing from 0 to 3 like ruin his shitty deck or something? Like I'm not getting it because like all the cards that Konami's hitting is they're the points is I don't agree with the argument he's making, right? So he has a point before, right? You guys remember when we banned rank up Phantom Knight launch instead of Azathoth, and it's like, well, that's fucking stupid, right? Azathoth is the problem, and Konami's like, well, you can't summon Azathoth if you don't have rank up launch, so we'll just ban launch. Then it's like, oh, actually, Lunalights can do it during their own turn on the 5th summon, and now you can't nib them, and they can just make an entire board. So, yeah, banning X card to keep another degenerate card is like a problem, and they've done that a bunch of times. However, this is not apples to apples, right? Or it's not apples to apples because the cards that he's talking about that have points associated with them are not banned. You can still play them. You can still play Planet Pathfinder. It's not banned because of Mystic Mine. You just have 3 points associated with it. So it's not apples to apples. He's just hating for the sake. I think his comparison is just bad. Before, chat, to put it into perspective, before, as a Phantom Knight player, you effectively got punished for playing Phantom Knight, chat, because of Azathoth, right? Like if Konami would have banned Azathoth, you would have been able to still play your Phantom Knight rank up card, but you weren't. You can still play these other cards, so I don't really get the point that he's making. Like if Planet Pathfinder being 3 points instead of 0 makes his deck less efficient, okay, that's fine, but it's not like you can't play Planet Pathfinder anymore. Like you can play 3 copies of it. Just you're gonna have to probably lose another card out of your deck.
Take 2 5s on the board to go into a River Stormer to get Planet Pathfinder in order to search out a field spell that gets you to Engine is, in my opinion, a very creative thing that you can do deck building wise. Having this ability of combining level 5s from one archetype in order to go into another archetype's rank 5 monster to search a generic card that gets you to the field spell that gets you to your next Engine is a very, very cool thing that you should be allowed to do, especially in a low-powered format like this.
But you can do it. Playing K9 is very creative. I mean, I don't know. Like, doesn't a deck already kind of, I mean, I don't know. Aren't people already doing that with Christian? I guess Christian doesn't have a field spell.
Being able to have this one consistency card that bridges 2 unique engines together is really cool in my opinion. So while I understand the appeal of wanting to have these 100 cost cards that you basically can build around one really OP boss monster or some broken degenerate card like Mystic Mine, my big issue is that this gimmick of wanting to have every single card legal comes at the cost of bloating the list of cards with a point cost associated to them, while also associating a point cost to cards that, let's face it, shouldn't have one in the first place. A lot of these rank up cards are totally fine and should be allowed to be played for free.
But they're also only... I get the point he's making, chat. He's not making it in like a meaningful way, right? Because what's the word? It's not like Konami threw out the baby with the bathwater, right? The damage that Coder's arguing has been mitigated so much that his argument is not compelling, right? Yeah, you're saying, oh, these rank up cards shouldn't have a cost at all. They cost 1 point. Who fucking cares? If they were like 15 points, you could make an art, but they cost 1 fucking point. There's no rank up deck. There's no deck that's gonna use rank ups that's not gonna be playable outside of forget about just Zexal. There's no deck that needs to play these cards that can't play them now because they have that cost. So the cost associated with them is so negligible. That's the word I was looking for. It's so negligible that it doesn't matter. It's like when they do experiments chat like 10,000 times and there's like a margin of error of like 0.000.2. It's like, who cares? It's negligible. You know what I mean? So like his argument ultimately doesn't really feel compelling.
Planet Pathfinder is also a card that should totally be allowed to be played for free. I don't think that any of these cards should have a point cost associated to them. So like I said in the beginning of the video, I really do like the concept of having a point cost associated to cards, but I think that the implementation of this
I totally forgot.
Kind of falls flat for me. And the reason why I say this is because I like the point cost distribution because it offered a different way to implement a ban list into the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. A lot of times you'll hear people talking about, what if we had a Duel Links ban list where if a card is at 2, you can play 2 of it or 1 of it and another card that's at 2 or something like that, which was a ban list idea that never would really work for the TCG. But then a lot of people had this idea of, what if a card was too broken in tandem with this one other card, what if you just made it so that you can't play both cards together? Realistically, in my opinion, that is what Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis was attempting to create. It was attempting to create a list where you are able to make concessions in terms of like generic good cards that you can play in favor of being able to play some of these 2-card combos that are very powerful together and sometimes a little too powerful. The way I look at it in my head is that something like Fire Formation Tenki, a card that's really good for searching out Beast Warrior monsters. In my opinion, I think that Ancient Warriors is a deck that is probably weak enough that allowing them to play Tenki is probably extremely reasonable, as opposed to the Zodiac deck, which is a lot more powerful.
What? All right, I'm not trying to insult him, but this is a really fucking stupid. This is a really fucking stupid box of worms to try to open. Coder's basically saying, chat, like a card can deserve points, but if you play it in a shittier archetype, then, or if you play it in like a shittier archetype, then you should be able to play it because the archetype is shittier versus playing it in like a good archetype. It's like, isn't that what the whole point system is for? Like, Fire Formation Tenki is an incredibly powerful card, chat, that has been on the Forbidden Unlimited list, what, like half a dozen times in its existence since 2014 or 13 or whenever the fuck it came out in Cosmo Blazer. So if you want to play Ancient Warriors, that's cool. But this card has also been extremely good in like actual meta decks.
That deck already has Zodiac Barrage to have consistency, so why not associate a point cost to the Fire Formation Tenki and the Zodiac Barrage to make it so that the Zodiac player has to decide, well, Barrage is the engine card, I'm going to choose to pick Barrage, and instead of playing Tenki, I'm going to take these points that I would attribute towards an additional consistency card and instead put them towards, some more generic powerful cards like a Joel and Lockbird or some Ash Blossoms or something like that. I think that the idea of the point cost was absolutely a fantastic idea to make it so that different 2-card combos or 3-card combos that were too powerful together can be given an associated point cost that makes it so that you're not really able to play all of them. However, if one of those cards is fair to play in one deck or one of those cards is fair to play in another deck, those decks are able to reasonably play these cards without making too much of a concession in their deck build. So Coder, after all this rambling, what exactly is your solution? We understand that the complaint is that I dislike the 100 cost cards because it
The complaint is not valid, Coder.
makes it so that a bunch of other cards that are interesting to deck build with are...
And yeah, I agree. That's too specific and long to manage for a physical. Because this is one thing, chat, that I think a lot of people... And this is where I was like, I don't know if this is going to be for me. You have to understand, chat, that the physical TCG is like implementing this. We haven't really this is the physical TCG is implementing this shit. This is moving forward with every new set, this format. So it's a lot to manage. He's just bad that he can't play his shitty deck. Just play Archmage. Archmage actually seems really, really strong in theory in this format. Like I don't know why you wouldn't play Archmage, because Archmage has the good ability, chat, that it can play these cards like Ultimate Slayer, right? Which is only good going second, or insane going second. But if you go first, you just discard it from your field spell, and there's your free fodder. You know what I mean? It's not like you were going to do anything with the Ultimate Slayer anyways. And you can also mix in some cards like Black Goat Laughs and stuff like that.
Given some sort of arbitrary point association, rank ups costing 1, Planet Pathfinder costing 3 for some reason instead of 1. They could have just made it cost 1, but for some reason it costs 3. And it feels like it's kind of all willy-nilly. My suggestion is the following. I think that you can keep this concept of there is no ban list, there are no banned cards.
What's the solution?
While also removing some cards from being able to play it in the most popular or standard format of Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis. I think that a lot of these 100-point cost cards.
Hold on. Let me hear this out.
Cards that are deemed to be so powerful that you should only be allowed to play one of them in your deck without combining it with any of these, like, 500 other cards that are on the list, should actually be bumped up by 1 point. I think that all of these 100 cost cards that are really broken, like Mystic Mind, like VFD, they should all cost 101 points. Now,
that would literally make them unplayable. Genesis. That was also, hold on. That was also, chat. I think Coder's video has some interesting aspects, and I think, bless his heart, that's what they say down here in the South. But like, it sounds like it sounded like he was basically saying Genesis format should have an alternate format within itself, and it's like, didn't this format just fucking get announced like 4 days ago, and we're already making like an altered like Genesis format 2.0? Like, what the fuck are we doing? This format, this format is like 3 days old. We're already making like an alternate format within Genesis. Like that's fucking stupid. You know what I mean? That's fucking dumb. The appeal of the format is that we can play everything. Yeah, I think making it 101 literally bans the card. Now you can't play Mystic Mind ever. Like, I think so I think, Chad, if you guys know that one dude, Jeff, the old white guy who just wants to play Mystic Mind, he plays it, and what's it? If you want to play Mystic Mind Turbo, chat, and you're just like, Cap, I don't give a fuck if there's no terraforming. I don't care if there's no demise of the land. I don't care. I get to play Mystic Mind. More power to that guy. Who cares if he only gets to play, like, if he wants to commit to that, more power to him. But making Mystic Mind cost 101 literally means he can't play the deck in any capacity. That's stupid. That defeats the purpose of what they were trying to do from the beginning.
Now, why is this my suggestion? Let's face it, a card like Mystic Mind that costs 100, but every other card that makes Mystic Mind good, costing some points, is effectively a ban on Mystic Mind.
No, it isn't. And that's not for you to decide, Coder. That's for like, objectively, chat, Jeff to decide. That one random Mystic Mind fan out there who was like, oh my god, Cap, I get to play my deck. That is for that person to decide, not you, who has no skin in the game. That's like the whole appeal. He really that's my problem, is like, the whole point of this, chat, is to bring the Wind Up fan back who's like, Cap, I haven't been able to play with Wind Up Mighty for 12 years or whatever. You know what I mean? If that person wants to play with their 100-point Wind-Ups and Mighty, let them play. It is not effectively banned. They can play literally one copy of it. Do they get to play Ash and Talents and Call? No, they don't get to play none of that. But they do get to play Wind-Ups with Mighty. So it's like, well, who made you the authority? Because you're saying it's effective. No, it's not. It's not effectively banned. Do you have to make a lot of concessions, which is kind of what you're arguing about for the shittier decks anyways? Yeah. So, like, I don't really get his argument.
Sure, you can play the one copy of Mystic Mind, but with none of these other cards, your Mystic Mind deck is not going to be able to function. So for that reason...
It can function. It's just not going to function optimally. Chat, is that not Genesis in a nutshell? Like, your Mystic Mind deck can function. It's just not going to function optimally, as if you had 3 Mystic Minds and all the other good cards. But that's like a lot of the decks in this format. I seen some Pearly cards on the list. We seen Razio cards on the list. That's a lot of decks. That's what the format kind of is in a nutshell, bro.
Playing Mystic Mind becomes unviable, and for that reason, it's effectively a ban on Mystic Mind. So my suggestion is to, instead of making it cost 100, so you can still play it in the standard format, but you can't play any of the other stuff, you instead make it so cards like Mystic Mind, like VFD, all cost 101 points, so that they're rotated out, phased out effectively from the standard format of Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis.
Don't you dare say
However, they're still completely legal, viable, and playable in any tournament that decides to run an over 100 point cost tournament.
What are we doing here? Over 100 point tournaments, chat, are completely fake, and they are just for funsies. Like, what are we doing? That's just a ban. Yeah, it literally is. It literally is a ban list. I'm not saying that TOs won't do, but they're just for funsies. Like, who cares? That's no different than if they had a traditional tournament right now. That's just for funsies. There's no actual. Why not just have fucking 2,000 point Genesis format? You know, like, what are we doing? Or tournament? Like, okay, you won it. That's not the real fucking rules. That'd be like if somebody's like, I'm gonna host a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament at my OTS where you get to play 4 of every Yu-Gi-Oh card.
What this creates is the following points. The first reason I think that this would be a really solid change for the format is it would allow the team to build the point cost list around the concept that these 101 cost cards are not able to be played in the standard format. Meaning that a lot of these ranked magic spells will probably be able to not be on the list at all. You can remove those entirely. Cards like Metaverse, cards like Demise of the Land, cards like Planet Pathfinder, you can remove those cards from the list entirely.
Hold on for a second. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, yeah, that people might play Metaverse. If this is a thing, people will play Metaverse. So this idea that like Metaverse is only played from people will play Metaverse for like Secret Village and shit like that. If there is degeneracy afoot, people will discover it.
Because they can't be played in tandem with Mystic Mind in the standard format of 100 points. The second reason why I think this would be a very good change is because it doesn't outright ban these cards entirely. Local tournaments are allowed to choose to run tournaments with a higher or lower point cost for their events. Meaning that you can get some events where you can't play any of the cards that are on the point list, basically a 0 point cost tournament. You can get a 50 point cost tournament to bring the power level down just a little bit, but you can also do the opposite and run a 200, 300, 500 point cost tournament in which cards like Mystic Mind alongside these, Mystic Mind Searchers and stuff like that would still be able to be played. So while you, yes, phase out some cards from the standard format, you do still adhere to the headline of no ban list, because truly you aren't banning any of these cards. You're just saying that these cards have a specific point total associated to them, and depending on the tournament that you're playing in, you might be able to have enough points to play it, or you might not be able to have enough points to play.
Coder, why don't you just play 100? Yeah, I'm like, why don't you just play in these tournaments then? Like, you're this is throwing out the baby with the bathwater, because you're essentially taking away the appeal of it, and we don't know if there's going to be much draw for these 100. Like, have you guys ever chat? Why is the reason why? Or what is the reason why players consistently and constantly go to high-end competitive Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, despite the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh prize support has kind of been trash for most of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh's life? Why is it that we still have 2,500 plus people attending YCSs and still wanting to do well? Because there's just some, I argue, I surmise that there's that competitive nature in us, that it is fun to win. You know what I mean? Like, if you top a YC, it feels good. It's like, man, I really accomplished something. I don't give a fuck if they give me a rubber ducky, and this rubber ducky it came from China and probably cost them 8 cents to make. There's just something about it, right? Stockholm said, no, I just think there's that competitive edge. Why does an athlete care about winning and losing? In the grand scheme of things, they're still gonna get fucking paid. Why do the athletes on these bum ass teams, chat? You guys know, if you know anything about sports, Myles Garrett on the Cleveland Browns, why do they really care about winning? There's a certain competitive drive in all of us as humans, chat. When you enter the realm of competition and you're not just playing for funsies, there's just a certain aspect of you want to win, a certain drive. It feels good. You know what I mean? Otherwise, like, there's, like, most athletes, like, yeah, the money's going to be great, but they still want to win. Why do they care about that championship? In the grand scheme of things, that shit really don't matter. Hunger to win. Yeah, I think that it's real. And I think that when you play these little, when you're taking something that is that is essentially officially made by Konami, chat, I think that players, it's always, I don't know, there's always been a certain level of like authenticity of it. Why did fucking ARGs die, chat? Why did PPGs die? They had cash prizes. Why? How come those things never popped off like YCSs? And sure, I think they had a couple that had like 800 people. How come we never had those events with like 3,500 people? They have cash. Because it just never felt official. COVID, nah, bro. You can't use that. Because YCSs went away for COVID and they're back, and now we're having giant events. Them things was washed before COVID. I don't want to hear, well, COVID killed. Nah, them things. There was never like a PPG Yu-Gi-Oh event, because I went to a couple of them that had like 2,500 people that had the same numbers as like a YCS. You know what I mean? Or the high YCS. It's like that never happens. It's because it never quite felt official. And if you're taking these tournaments where the official standard, chat, is 100 points, and now it's like, well, just fucking do 500 points and 10,000 points or 900, like, it's just, who cares? It doesn't feel official. It doesn't feel authentic.
While ultimately not telling people, hey, these cards will never be able to be played ever again.
I'm glad I watched this video,
by the TCG, for example. And ultimately, I really think that if we implemented these changes and allowed some of these cards to be set to a point total that is above 100, it would basically make it so we get a lot less of these collateral damage hits on the list, and we can instead focus on creating a list that makes it so that you just can't play pairs of cards that are...
That's kind of a good argument, chat. Coder's argument is that having these 100-point cards in the game causes collateral damage. But the counter argument that Konami, and I guess even I would throw out there, is that the collateral damage in this specific format, unlike what they've done in the past, is so minimal that it's just negligible. It's not the same amount of collateral damage where it'd be like if, the point cost for the rank up cards were like 50. Okay, then it's like, damn, bro. Now we just can't even play these rank, but they're 1 point. So like that's where his argument just falls on deaf ears. In the past, Konami wasn't the damage was not negligible. It was like, nah, we're banning these other. I'm trying to think of other examples, chat. Oh yeah, we banned what was the rank up, chat, that we banned at first? Because we've actually banned what, 2 rank up cards. We banned the Phantom Knight launch, and we banned another rank up. And I feel like that one was for your top Exexel. And then they unbanned it. Damn. 7th Tachyon? Yeah, Argent Chaos Force. Yeah, we banned Argent Chaos Force, and it was like, that didn't solve the problem. When Konami was doing that, chat, that amount of damage was not negligible. You know what I mean? When you just ban a card. What was the other? Little Buster Whelp. You guys remember when we banned Buster Whelp instead of banning Union Carrier? And it was like, oops, Union Carrier is still broken. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, damn, great. Can't play Buster Blader no more. Because, you know what I mean? Gimmick Puppet Nightmare. You guys get what I'm saying, though.
Just okay, but when put together, do too much, and instead allow people to play with these cards that are just okay in decks where they're just okay, where they're completely fine to be played. Instead of just creating a format where we're able to just remove the problematic cards, the way too powerful cards, and making it so you can only play them in a tournament that is basically meant to be high power and overpowered, where everyone's playing with broken shit, we can instead remove these cards, allow the standard format of the formats to be played in a way where all the cards that are on the list have a realistic chance of being played, while also making it so these lower power decks can utilize some of these really...
Hold up. Yo, Chad, is Coder getting cooked in his comment section? Your example is a terrible one, since generic searchers should have points attributed to them anyways. Pathfinder should have never been 0 cost. It being 0 to begin with was a big oversight. I just wanted to see. Oh, hold on. 100 point cards, in my opinion, are not effectively banned in this format. Rather, it presents the option of players to sink their 100 points into an expensive card that could assuredly be game warping. It's merely an option if you want to expend all of your resources on one big bomb. The risk comes in that you can no longer invest in other cards that might be powerful alongside that card in particular, or more engine hand traps and interaction. Additionally, it's dependent on the tournament. Some tournaments will have a limit. Okay, this part I'm not, what's it called? I'm sorry, Coder. I feel like the things that we were saying, chat, as literally as the video was playing, that's exactly what it's kind of like. I feel like you're getting cooked, bro, by your own comment section. This is exactly what I said. It's like the cards are not effectively banned. It's no different than skill drain, chat. I just gave the example. If I want to remove all of these and I want to put all my eggs into, if I open skill drain, I win the game, more power to me with Eldritch. But I'd rather have Strike. I'd rather have Judgments. I'd rather have these Nethys. I'd rather put a Call By in here or something. Like, I'm not gonna do that. You know what I mean? If you want to put all your eggs into a 100 point bomb card that, again, is kind of like meta warping or game warping, God bless. You know what I mean? But I don't look at it as they're effectively banned because you can't maximize their potential. They're literally not banned.
Interesting cards in their deck building to create.
I think it's interesting that, because some YouTubers, chat, their comment section is just an echo chamber of I agree, and I wanted to see what that was. Or what it was for
But interesting play lines and interesting games ultimately. If you remove a lot of these crazy power cards, you let a lot of people play with some interesting stuff, you get longer games, you get more interesting games, you get more diverse games. I think that this whole concept, this whole idea would actually allow decks to be more diverse rather than forcing everyone to be playing 3 copies of Iron Thunder because that's the only good counter trap that costs 0. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, I want to know
what?
Diverse rather than forcing everyone to be playing 3 copies of Iron Thunder because that's the only good counter trap that costs 0. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, Chad, am I tripping, or what point is it? Like, this is 18 minutes into the video, and like, what does this have to do with anything? He's saying that he wants the 100 point cards banned, but like, what the fuck does that have to do with, you know, like, impermanence costing 13 points? No. This point that he's making, he just felt like it came out of nowhere, and it's like, what the fuck does this have to do with anything? This has, if he added, all right, let's say we went with Coder's idea, right? We have Mystic Mine and Rongo Myriad and your top execs, so they all cost 101. That has nothing to do with everyone playing Iron Thunder because it costs 0 points. Like, that has nothing to do with, like, one has nothing to do with the other. People are playing Iron Thunder because it costs 0 points. Like, that's not going to change depending on you running 100-point or having access to 100-point cards. We just kind of did the math on stream, chat. Like, I didn't realize the points do add up, but like this idea of you just being able to throw 3 imperms, you know, talents, 3 ash, and 3 fucking Fuwalos and every, like, that's just not going to happen in this format. You just don't have the points of, especially if you have extra that cards that have points. It's just not going to happen. So people are going to look towards those lower tier cards that have 0 points that are still good. So I don't know. I don't get what point he's trying to make. Yeah. To me, I didn't understand the correlation that he's making here. It's like there wasn't one.
And so ultimately, I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis is in a...
If they raise the point limit to 200... So Anime Night, while I think if they raise the point limit to 200, it would make the 100-point cards, like, it'd make them easier to digest. I think that like, looking in hindsight, I think that would be bad. And the reason why, chat, is because these cards, these really solid cards that should have points attached to them, like Super Poly. Should Super Poly cost points, chat? Yes. Super Poly, if you have a card that has been on the FNL list in its history, there's a good chance it should cost points, right? I'm not saying 10 or even, but like if it's a 3-point card, yeah. Like if you went to 200 Anime Night, I feel like that's too many points. Then I feel like every deck can just run 3 Ash, 3 Imperm, 3 Veiler, and then you get, you know, the Cells of Utopia of 18 hand traps, and every deck kind of has the same staples. I think they don't want that. You know what I mean? So these cards that are like 10, I don't think Konami wants you to be able to run 20 of them.
A place that you like? Do you guys think that the idea of having cards like Mystic Mine, cards like VFD in the format allowed in tandem with other cards that, you know, would be able to be played with them, having a point cost associated to it, making it harder for other decks to be able to implement those cards, is fine? Or do you guys feel as though having the opportunity to put some of these cards to 101 and balancing the list a lot more around the cards that people are actually wanting to be playing would be a better solution moving forward?
No, because the examples that you're not giving any examples of these decks that are like being gate kept by having their cards at minimal cost. If Coder said, I literally cannot play my Archmage K9 deck because Pathfinder now costs 3 points, then maybe you would have a point, but that's not how it works. If Planet Pathfinder was like 80 points, you'd have a point, but it's 3. Like, just take out 2 cards and put that shit in.
I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you disagree with me, that is completely fine. I want it to be very clear. This is simply my opinion, and my opinion is not gold. Maybe I'm in the wrong here, and that's okay. I want to spark good, healthy discussion around this topic because, like I said, I really like the concept of this format, and I really think that there's just a couple of flaws that need to be, like a couple of kinks that need to be ironed out. But I think that if those flaws get addressed and get ironed out, I think that this format can genuinely be something.
Oh, wait, actually, hold on.
Really cool.
So, at first, this looked kind of cute. You got a couple of problems in here, Kiba. One, I don't think Extravagance and Invoke can work together. Like, I see you're running kind of 3 of everything. I don't know if these two really work that well together, because you really need these 2 cards not to get banished when playing, you know, Invoked. Also, not having links in Invoked kind of sucks. Like, so you normal summon Alistair the Invoker, you get the effect, what are you banishing? Because you definitely don't want to banish Golden Lord. Even if it's your first, like, you're like, hey, Cap, I'm just going to do it once. Like, that's a heavy cost, bro. Like I said, it's a shitty... I just don't think that... So I don't think... With links, I think it works. Right? Like, I do think that Eldritch and Invoke kind of complement. Like, if you're telling me that you're playing 2 copies of the Magistus monster, and your Alistair is just normal summon it, link for the Magistus card, banish them both for Makaba, put the Alistair back in my hand by shuffle. Like I'm with that, and then just using the Eldritch cards as like supplement. I'm cool. But if you're asking me to actually banish my Eldritch to go, fuck that. Whole deck don't work now. Fuck that. We're not doing that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's exactly what I was gonna say. Because there's no links, you can't go first with Invoked anymore. I'm not banishing the only other monster in the deck. Like, Golden Lord is way too valuable of a card to just banish. Like, Invoke gotta be a go second deck now. You need to use, so an Invocation banishes from your opponent's graveyard, right? But you can't use that turn 1. Now we just need to rely on that. If there's no links, the whole concept of Invoked going first to me doesn't work anymore. Because otherwise you have to banish real cards. And I think banishing real cards defeats the purpose of playing Invoked, because Invocation was supposed to be designed to kind of play around that. So, Invoked Wind Witch. Yeah, so, I mean, that could work. Where if you're, that could work if you're ending on, like, Crystal Wing plus like Raijin, like, yeah, that's cool. You get a Book of Moon, like, it's not the greatest disruption, but it's something.
Cool direction for Yu-Gi-Oh to be taken. So please leave your comments in the comment section below. I'm going to
in
read
theory,
through those.
you can play
maybe
Eldritch Fusion specifically.
I've already been arguing
Angel.
in the Genesys Discord.
True, but hold on. True, but you need what's it called? Kiba. To do that, you need to play the Eldritch Field spell, and you don't have that. To like go into all like the Eldritch Fusion plays like consistently, especially turn 1, you basically have to commit to the field spell, which you don't have. So if you're gonna add that in, then yeah, it can probably work. But if you're not playing like the Eldritch Field spell, and doing all that stuff, then like
I'll link that in the description as well if you guys want to join. It's not official by any means, but it is a big Discord where everyone.
I'm sure. I don't know if you guys enjoyed this video or not, but I do like videos like this, chat. Videos that encourage debate, or at least that invoke debate. Even if this video was not supposed to encourage debate, it did, because it's a controversial take and opinion.